Hello, my name is IRENE Pei, and I'm a seventh grader from Fayston Preparatory of Suji. Have you ever noticed the summer is getting a bit too hot or the winter is getting a bit more snowy every year? These are the effects of none other than global warming impacting our daily lives. In order to alleviate and adapt to these climate changes, the UN launched Sustainable Development Goal 13 to take an urgent step towards preventing global warming. While the developed countries can afford to adapt to these policies, least developed countries or LDCs unfortunately cannot. Through the Paris Agreement, the developed countries therefore decided to raise money annually to help the LDCs. However, there are some flaws in the finance bills. The developed countries are lending money in the form of loans rather than grants. The conditions for getting the funds are strict. And finally, the finance bills and mitigation and adaptation efforts are greatly unbalanced. First of all, the developed countries are lending money in the form of loans rather than grants, meaning that the LDCs in the end will have to pay back money with added interest. Even before the COVID pandemic, the LDCs were having a hard time keeping up their debts. Now that the COVID pandemic has left a devastating impact on their economy, they can hardly afford to pay back. They are now in a desperate position and are in danger of having high debt distress. Some people therefore propose that the developed countries give the money to the LDCs for granted. However, not only would it be hard to find people willing to donate $100 billion, but it would also take away the LDC's motivation. Since the LDCs only have to accept the money instead of working to pay it back, they'll just spend the money recklessly. On the other hand, if the LDCs were to pay back money with liability, they'll have the motivation to actually develop to make up for what they owed. Using the money that they got back from the LDCs, the developed countries can then use the same money to help other countries in need as well. I therefore strongly suggest that the countries lend the money to the LDCs with minimized interest rate and compromised payment terms so as to give the LDCs the time to develop. The country's wealth should be considered when deciding on the interest rate and repayment terms. Yet, the conditions to get the funds in itself are rigorous. This includes local supply of expertise, specialist technology, and etc. In other words, some of the LDCs that really need the funds to develop those technologies cannot actually get them. In order to prevent this from happening, I strongly suggest considering each country's conditions before giving out the funds and adjusting the money accordingly. Perhaps there can be a new environmental organization formed by a group of people who truly want to take up the matter, sponsored by the UN and the organizations. With their true motivations from their heart, they can work as a bridge between the UN and the LDCs. Then, the countries who really need the funds will be able to receive what they need. With the money, they can then start applying the SDG policies into their countries. When starting to apply the SDG policy, however, it is found that most of the policies only cover the mitigation efforts while forgetting about the adaptation efforts. However, as much as preventing for the global warming is important, being prepared for the global warming that's happening right now because of our carelessness of the past is just as important. I therefore strongly suggest balancing out the two types of preventions. In order to accomplish this, I highly suggest giving incentives to industries that focus on these changes. For example, the UN can give priority in providing the funds for developing education, economy, and etc. for those that cut off their use of carbon dioxide, which is mitigation, or renovate their infrastructures, which is adaptation. By balancing out the two types of preventions and providing incentives, we would be better prepared for both preventing and facing the common global warming disasters. All in all, I ask that the developed countries give the money to the LDCs with reasonable interest rate and repayment terms according to their own situations to boost their economy. This would then balance out the mitigation and adaptation efforts with incentives. We can't help that our careless actions of the past have brought global warming. However, we can help to shape our futures by helping the LDCs apply the SDG 13 into their policies. Thank you.
Hey, great. Thank you very much for the wonderful speech. The question that I would like to ask regarding your speech was, you've mentioned the importance of creating a new environmental organization. And my question is, what is the difference of creating a new environmental organization rather than using or utilizing the current existing environmental organization? What are the benefits or advantage, and what could be the different roles that this new environmental organization that you would like to suggest could be different?
So I was thinking that with the new environmental movement organizations that's being created, they can they can like their main roles can be like just focusing on like working as a bridge between the UN and the LDCs, so that like there are other existing environmental environment organizations, but like rather than focusing on other things, they can like specifically focus on this area, so that, as I mentioned in the speech, they can just like connect the two countries and other UN and the organizations, so that they can work out those plans.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for your answer.
All right, thank you. Bye.